Some people are called poets, or rebels, or champions. But the most important title Muhammad Ali ever held was a man of the people. This isn't just a story about a boxer. It's about the fight of a lifetime. You see, he was this global force of pure courage, conviction, and charisma. He was a man who took his fame and turned it into a megaphone to change everything: sports, politics, culture, forever. So how does a boy from Louisville, Kentucky become a name known in every corner of the globe? Well, it all started with a stolen bicycle, an act of injustice that lit a fire inside him that would, quite literally, never go out. He was born Cassius Clay Jr. back in 1942, but his path was really set when he was just 12 years old. When his bike was stolen, he told a police officer he wanted to beat up the thief, and that officer, he pointed him toward a boxing gym, and in that moment, unknowingly, changed the course of history. By the time he was 18, he had Olympic gold around his neck, and at just 22, he did the unthinkable. He shocked the world by defeating the terrifying Sonny Liston to become the heavyweight champion. But here's the thing, his real power wasn't just in his fists. It was in his mind, his words, and a kind of confidence the world had just never seen before. He didn't just tell people he was the greatest, he made them believe it. And that charisma, well, that would become the foundation for the icon he was always meant to be. Becoming champion, that was just the first round. His biggest, most important battles weren't fought for a title belt at all. They were fought for his conscience, and maybe even for the soul of a nation. This was his fight outside the ring. Almost right after winning the title, Cassius Clay shed what he called his slave name. He embraced Islam and became Muhammad Ali. He wasn't just the champion anymore. He was a man of conviction. He used his platform to speak out loud against racism and injustice, completely refusing to be the quiet, smiling athlete the world wanted him to be. And in 1967, that conviction faced the ultimate test. At the absolute height of the Vietnam War, Ali was drafted into the U.S. Army, and he refused to go. Citing his religious beliefs, he famously declared that the world already had enough violence. It was a stand that was going to cost him everything. The consequences were swift, and they were brutal. He was stripped of his heavyweight title. His boxing license was revoked. For more than 3 years, right in the middle of his athletic prime, he was banned from the sport he loved. For any other athlete, that would have been the end of the story. For Ali, it was just a new beginning. So when he was finally allowed to fight again, he didn't exactly return to an empty stage. No, he came back to a division packed with giants, a whole new generation of fighters who were dying to prove that the king was finished. I mean, he faced a murderer's row of opponents. We're talking legends like Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, and the guy everyone thought was invincible, George Foreman. These men weren't just fighters, they were titans who wanted to destroy him. But Ali's greatest weapons now, they weren't just his speed and power anymore. They were his willpower and his mind. And in 1974, in the famous Rumble in the Jungle, he faced the fearsome George Foreman. And this is where Ali unveiled this brilliant, unbelievably high-risk strategy, the rope-a-dope. He just leaned back on the ropes and absorbed Foreman's thunderous blows, round after round, letting the younger champion literally punch himself into exhaustion. Then, in the 8th round, he came alive. He struck back, knocking Foreman out in what is still one of the greatest comebacks in all of sports history. Ali had reclaimed his title, but his true legacy was still being built. His victories inside the ring were now being matched by his incredible work as a global humanitarian, creating a legacy that would remain completely undefeated by time. He really did become a champion of humanity. He traveled the world speaking to the poor, visiting nations in crisis, and always, always standing up for the oppressed. He used his voice to fight discrimination and inspire millions, proving his compassion was just as powerful as his right hand ever was. But even legends face battles they can't win. In the 1980s, Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a cruel, painful consequence of the thousands of punches he'd taken over his career. The man whose voice once shook the world now struggled just to speak. And yet he never stopped fighting. He never stopped inspiring. At the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, the entire world held its breath. With his hands trembling visibly from his illness, Muhammad Ali stood tall and lit the Olympic flame. It was just this moment of profound courage and raw vulnerability that honestly brought the world to tears. His body had been weakened, yeah, but his spirit, His spirit never broke. The fights are over now, the voice is silent, but what he stood for, that courage, that conviction, that fight for justice, that continues to echo. That spirit remains undefeated. So in the end, Muhammad Ali wasn't just a great boxer. He was a great man. He fought for titles, for sure, but more importantly, he fought for what was right. He didn't just change the sport of boxing, he changed the world.